Coming up on the Q30 Newscast, Quinnipiac sees a decline in COVID-19 numbers on campus with just 3 weeks left of the spring semester.
Plus, the student government elections were held yesterday, and we'll speak live to the newly elected president and vice president.
And we have your coverage from Quinnipiac's 12th annual big event.
All this and more coming up on the Q30 Newscast.
Welcome to tonight's newscast. I'm Katie O'Keefe.
And I'm Ethan Logue. We start tonight with an updated look at the most recent COVID-19 numbers here on campus.
The university has returned to a green risk level campus, meaning that there are few positive cases and the transmission of COVID-19 is controlled.
On-campus students are now allowed to visit other students' residence halls again. This news comes after the university reported only 15 new cases as of yesterday.
And those 15 new cases come from testing between last Friday, April 9th, and Tuesday, yesterday, April 13th. Right now, things are looking up as the university continues to plan for an in-person outdoor commencement.
Q30's Matt Juronsic sat down with Dr. David Hill to discuss the recent change to Green Alert.
So that told us that despite lots of students going home over the holidays, they tended to be careful and didn't bring COVID back. And as I say, it's our goal to try and have the campus look as normal as possible for our students.
The FDA and CDC called for a temporary pause on administering the Johnson & Johnson vaccine yesterday. 6 women who got the shot have developed a rare blood clotting disorder. One of the women has died. Vanessa Blasi has the latest.
Just yesterday, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine was put on pause by the Biden administration after 6 women developed rare blood clotting disorders. All 6 women were between the ages of 18 and 48, the same age range of college students. Quinnipiac student Tyler Peruta just received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine less than 12 hours before the announcement was made. The news took him by surprise.
If I recall correctly, I think I swore out loud. I was thinking, just my luck. I would be one of the last people in Connecticut, or at least the country, to get that vaccine and then find out that there were issues with it.
Tyler is not alone in his worries. Many other Quinnipiac students also received this vaccine and are unsure if they should be concerned as well.
It's kind of scary to know that you put something into your body which is affecting directly your age group and demographic.
Usually I'd be freaking out, but it's normal for them to pause any type of vaccine that's not officially FDA approved. Because it's approved for emergency use, they'll usually take time to pause and do extra research.
Students are still grateful for the chance to get vaccinated.
I understand being wary of a vaccine that was rolled out on such a short time frame, but we've seen that the vast majority of doses are safe.
Out of these 6 women who developed blood clotting after receiving the Johnson & Johnson, one of them died last month. Despite the possibility of this happening again, Quinnipiac students are still encouraging their peers to get the vaccine. I'm Vanessa Blasi for Q30 News.
This past week, Quinnipiac University President Judy Olian sat down with our very own Kay Pattyfoot for an exclusive interview going over a variety of topics, including a possible COVID-19 vaccination site and ways to increase diversity and inclusion on campus.
What are your goals to get the student body, faculty, and staff vaccinated and to have next year go back to normal?
We're doing our very best, thanks to the governor's office and our partnership with some vendors here, to try to get our students vaccinated here on campus, those that haven't been.
Can you just give a brief summary of the 10-point action plan to advance racial justice and how the progress is going with that?
We will be, in the next week or 2, publishing a comprehensive second update. I want everyone to see that the 10-point plan was intended to hold ourselves accountable to each of these points, but to also show that there isn't any single simple fix, that you have to work on all fronts to really achieve deep, lasting, sustainable change.
Can students expect the university to make or to be more strict when a racial incident happens on campus, if whether that's from a student or maybe a department or a faculty or a staff member?
There was an incident this past year where students felt that the university didn't do anything. Well, in fact, there were pages and pages of Title IX investigatory report. Now, I want to use some words that Don Sawyer, our vice president, Dr. Don Sawyer, had said. Students also have to recognize that we're an educational institution and not just an adjudication institution. And as an educational institution, there are some times where mistakes are made, but can be learned from.
Quinnipiac's Office of Religious Life is asking the community to be respectful and mindful of those observing Ramadan this month. Ramadan is a month-long holiday celebrated by Muslims. It started yesterday, April 13th, and will last until May 12th, which is the rest of the semester. So during this time, Muslims will fast during the day and eat one meal after sundown. So in a letter, the office reminds everyone the possible challenges this time for those who celebrate could have. It's time for a little weather preview. We've had some nicer weather lately, right, Ethan?
Yeah, that's right, Katie. I have been loving the recent sunshine, and we are now joined by Joe LaGrippo in studio. Joe, can we expect more of the same this week?
So, did you guys know today is actually National Look Up at the Sky Day? It really is, I'm not lying to you. So I hope you guys went outside and looked up at today's beautiful blue sky. It was nice and warm for us today, nearly touching 70 degrees. But it seems like that blue sky is going to fade to gray over the next 24 to 48 hours and come along with some rainfall. I'll be back later to give you the 7-day forecast and the weather around Connecticut, but before we go to commercial, I want you to take a wild guess at what tomorrow is. It's actually National Take a Wild Guess Day. So stick with us so you don't need to take a wild guess at this week's weather. We'll see you back after the break.
Type 2 diabetes can have a big impact on your life, but how can it be prevented? Well, the first step is knowing if you have prediabetes, a serious medical condition that puts you at high risk for type 2 diabetes. 1 in 3 American adults has prediabetes, but more than 80% don't know they have it. The good news is, prediabetes can be reversed, and for many people, healthy changes in their daily routine can make a big difference. Take the 1-minute risk test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Meet the scan, a simple procedure whose mission is to detect lung cancer early.
I'm here to save you!
But I feel fine.
That's great, but you may still be at high risk for lung cancer.
Oh man, that's a new fence.
If you smoke, early detection could save your life. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Thanks for sticking with us. This week's national news update comes from all over the country, including Minnesota, Wisconsin, and North Carolina.
We now go to Grace McGuire with the latest. Grace?
Thank you, Ethan and Katie. This week's national news starts off in Minnesota. Dante Wright, a 20-year-old African-American man, was shot and killed by police officer Kimberly Potter on Sunday. Wright had been pulled over when the officers saw he had an arrest warrant. While Wright was getting back in the car, Officer Potter pulled out her handgun and warned Wright that she would tase him. He got back in the car and she shot Wright, and he died at the scene. Police Chief Gannon said in a statement, quote, "It is my belief that the officer had the intention to deploy their taser, but instead shot Mr. Wright with a single bullet," end quote. Chief Gannon and Officer Potter resigned on Tuesday. Ex-Officer Potter will be charged with second-degree manslaughter. The police officer that shot and half-paralyzed Jacob Blake last August has returned to active duty. Last summer, Officer Shashki shot Blake 7 times in what he claimed was self-defense as Blake fled for his car. Officer Sashki was cleared of all charges in January and, according to his chief, is not being additionally disciplined. The chief stated that this decision is lawful and appropriate, even if it is upsetting to some people. Officer Sashki originally returned from his administrative leave on March 31st. President Trump's wall may become a national monument. North Carolina State Representative Madison Cawthorn recently proposed this through a bill called the Donument Act. Under the act, the unfinished wall on the border of Mexico would become the Southern Border Wall National Monument. Cawthorn said in a statement, quote, "If Biden refuses to finish the wall, you can be sure American patriots will do everything in their power to protect it," end quote. The bill still needs to pass in the House for the wall to actually become the 159th National Monument. That's all I have for National this week. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Grace. Now on to more campus news. It was Election Day for the Student Government Association yesterday.
Q30's Eric Kerr looks into the student voting turnout for this year's elections.
Please vote on Tuesday, April 13th on DUQU from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
These words were heard many times for the past few days from candidates like Cameron Davignon, pushing the Quinnipiac student body to vote in this year's student government elections. Every election's goal is to increase voting numbers. To gain votes, the candidates had to campaign. This year's way to do it was a bit different, as COVID-19 influenced SGA's election committee to create guidelines limiting or preventing campaigning in indoor locations, such as dorm rooms and inside the cafeteria.
That's our main goal. We don't want anyone to feel unsafe with people coming up to them. So we're really encouraging social media. It's a great way to interact with people.
With the recent shift to yellow alert on campus, the Student Government Association and its candidates has shifted to a more digital approach to campaigning on social media.
Posting my entire platform on my Instagram so you guys can see.
Going on Instagram, trying to message people and kind of try to facilitate that same one-on-one connection.
The digital promotion was done in a variety of ways, as candidates took the time to make infographics, story posts, videos, and even songs.
I get my sandwiches from Mondo.
We dropped a mixtape, a whole song, you know, I get my sandwiches from Mondo, so that was my whole idea with the song.
They also shared their policies in public.
I've been out here currently for about 2.5 hours, just holding my thing, saying my spiels, and hoping people will vote for me.
The results led to several candidates elected into new positions. The total ballot count, 2,052. 51 more votes than their total in the previous election in the fall. Eric Kerr, Q30 News.
So what's the signal? Want to switch? Just to switch.
I'm with Nick. Hannah, do you have him there with you?
Nick Champinelli. First off, congratulations on being named the Student Government Association President-elect.
Thank you, I really appreciate it.
It's been less than 24 hours. What are the thoughts and emotions that have been running through your mind this past day?
Yeah, it feels surreal, to be honest. This is a moment I've dreamed of before, and it's more than I ever imagined, to be quite honest. And it's incredible to think as to how students truly trust in me to represent them and advocate for them at one of the highest levels at this university.
What does it mean for you to be the people's choice, to be able to lead them through the next school year?
So to be the people's choice, as you said, it is, as I said previously, incredibly humbling and honored to be in that position. But I also think back to accountability, and being in this position is not something to be taken lightly. I am here to best serve and advocate for the students, regardless of how they identify their different intersectionalities, where they come from, and whatnot.
I want to go back to the beginning. Nick Champinelli walks on to Quinnipiac University as a first-day freshman. Does he know that he wants to become the Student Government Association president?
Not at all. I had no initial thoughts to. I often think back on my first year experience and how I got involved in student government. The SGA president is given the privilege to speak at Welcome Weekend. The SGA president at the time, Ryan Hicks, gave a speech, and I remember it almost word for word to this day.
Nick Champinelli, you are the Student Government Association president-elect. I'm so happy that we got to sit down and do this today.
Thank you, I really appreciate it.
We're now joined by Hannah Merski, who is standing by with the newly elected SGA executive board members, including, like you just saw, the new president-elect, Nicholas Champinelli. Hannah, do you have Nick with you?
I'm sitting here with Nick Champinelli, our new SGA president-elect. How does it feel to be president?
It feels fantastic, and I'm honored and humbled to have been elected by the student body and represent them.
What did you do when you heard the news?
I almost broke down in tears, quite literally. I was in Sophia's office when she broke it to me, and I was just shocked.
And now that you're elected, what are the first things you're going to be tackling?
First things I'll be doing is creating a few different advisory boards to advise me on a few key issues like the commuter experience, student engagement, especially because that's been at an all-time low. Also working with the Indigenous Student Union to start revising the Legend of the Bobcat and writing a land acknowledgement statement.
Thank you. Okay, and back to you guys at the desk.
Our bad. No, up.
Up, no.
Just wait.
We also have the SGA Vice President-elect Christopher Longchamp with us live with Hannah.
And we're back with our new SGA Vice President-elect, Chris Longchamp. And how does it feel to be Vice President?
Feels great, to be honest with you. I'm ready to get to work.
And how did you react when you heard the news?
I was honestly in shock. I could not believe that I had just won this election. It was a three-way race, and I think that was probably the toughest challenge I'd ever faced so far here at Quinnipiac.
Yes, and now that you're elected, what are you going to be doing now?
Yeah, so obviously my first issue I'd like to work on is transparency. Administration has not been transparent with the students here, and I believe that they can be more transparent, and if we push them on it, I believe we can get something done and give students more information about the institution that they attend.
And thank you for coming again, and congratulations to both of you, and back to you guys at the desk.
The new cabinet will begin the transition process over the next couple of weeks, but right now it's time for another break. Coming up, we have your full weather report.
Plus, we have details from Quinnipiac's big event this past weekend. We'll be right back.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover their unique mix of all kinds of things.
Come on, Joe, spot on this last one. There it is.
Keep going with it. Leo! They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love.
I know what you're thinking. I need a job.
I need a new career.
Well, I've been there.
I've been there.
I've been there. I wasn't happy with what I was doing.
After high school, I didn't have a plan.
I just wanted to start working.
I got laid off twice, but you gotta keep going.
You just need the right skills. Find an apprenticeship.
I found a 2-year IT program.
I found a medical course online.
I'm now a consultant in the tech space.
You have more options than you think. You can do this.
You will find something.
You will find something new.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made home ownership happen. Homeschooling yourself on loans, beefing up your credit score.
So I'm pre-approved.
You were like, yes! Sorry. Color coding listings, ticking boxes, and flushing every toilet in a 20-mile radius. Home sweet home. You aced house hunting. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
It's time for your full weather report.
Yes, it is, and we have the wonderful Joe LaGrippo standing by here with us live. Joe, I'm hoping it's more sunshine this weekend.
Katie, I actually just got off the phone with Mother Nature, and I requested sunshine for us, and she said she'll get some sun to us this weekend. But before I spoil too much, let's have a quick look at temperatures around Connecticut. Torrington, Hartford, Danbury, all currently in the mid to upper 50s. New Haven sits down in the lower 50s. And if we head out to east of Connecticut, Norwich and New London are in the upper 40s. Definitely a chilly night over there. Now, on to the 7-day forecast in Hamden. Like I talked about before, we have really nice weather today, but the next 2 days are going to be rainy. Both will be hovering around the high 30s and high 40s. The good news, though, is that it seems like the rain will go away just in time for Q-thon on Saturday, so you'll be able to take off your rain boots on Friday night and get your dancing shoes on for Saturday morning. We're going to see the sun come out throughout the start of next week. Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday will all be around a high of 60 degrees and lows of mid-40s. Guys, my phone actually just started to buzz again. I think it's Mother Nature calling me back because I hung up on her. So I'm going to have to unfortunately take this call, but I'll send it back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Joe. I don't know about you, Katie, but I'm really looking forward to seeing spring in full swing. Quinnipiac's 12th annual big event was this past Saturday, and Q30's very own Matthew Jurancic actually went and volunteered.
Quinnipiac hosted its annual big event this past Saturday, where students would go out to various locations across the Hamden and New Haven area. For some students like Brendan Watts, he participates to give back to the community.
It's just an opportunity to allow students to give back to the community, especially when we're so involved with our schoolwork. It's just a nice time to take a break and give back to others.
This year, more than 600 students took part in the event, putting in a total of 1,800 hours. Alyssa Lawson, co-director of the big event, discussed some of the challenges that went into planning the day.
We had to kind of reconfigure a lot. Normally, we have the whole opening ceremony and we give everyone bagels and have this whole thing in the morning, and we couldn't really do that, so we set up North Lot, so it was completely no touch, and everyone just drove through. We got them their tools. They were still able to go to their sites. We weren't able to go to as many nonprofits as we normally do because a lot of them were affected or closed or aren't accepting volunteers because of COVID. So it's kind of hard to, find places that we could safely send our volunteers to, make sure that it was safe and healthy, and get the approval from the school to make sure that they were okay with us, doing whatever we do.
Despite not reaching as many nonprofit organizations due to the pandemic, volunteers in the community were grateful that the event was able to take place.
It's a big help for us and our clients because it's extra things that we get done, financially and just, manpower-wise. It's a burden to get everything done, and big events like this help us get things done.
I am live here from North Lot, where students pick up, check in, and drop off their tools. Regardless of the outcome of the pandemic, the big event staff here is more than fired up. Matthew Jurancic, Q30 News.
It was definitely a nice day for all of that. Quinnipiac students and faculty will present at the American Occupational Therapy Association later this month. The conference, called AOTA Inspire, is holding live sessions throughout April, May, and June. 9 separate presentations will be given this month by Quinnipiac members. The purpose of the conference is to represent interests and concerns in the industry. Topics of the presentations will include disabilities represented in films, concussion recovery for student athletes, and more.
On March 14th, Sigma Chi will be hosting a lecture on meditating conditions response. The lecture will be hosted by Dr. Joshua Haight, who has been an assistant professor of psychology and behavioral neuroscience at Quinnipiac since 2019. His current research includes neuroscience, and Dr. Haight has work published in prestigious journals, including Behavioral Brain Research, Neuroscience, and PLOS ONE. For the latest updates in the political world, we send it over to Connor Olathorn.
Thanks, you two. 3 Republicans have looked at legislation that could possibly end the MLB's Sherman antitrust exemption after the All-Star Game was moved out of Georgia in protest of the state's new voting restrictions. The MLB moved the Midsummer Classic, which includes the All-Star Game, MLB Draft, and the Home Run Derby from Truist Park in Atlanta to Coors Field in Denver. Senators Ted Cruz, Mike Lee, Josh Hawley made the push after frustrations from Republicans over large corporations. Cruz told reporters that, quote, that decision was harmful. It's going to hurt baseball. But it also underscores that there's no reason Major League Baseball should enjoy special subsidized corporate welfare that no one else gets, end quote. After 20 years of war, President Joe Biden will officially pull out the remaining 2,500 troops that are in Afghanistan. Earlier today, Biden noted that the withdrawal would formally end before the 20th anniversary of the September 11 attacks, which is a few months later than former President Donald Trump wanted American troops to be out, which was by May 1st. Biden said, quote, American troops shouldn't be used as a bargaining chip between warring parties in other countries. That's nothing more than a recipe for keeping American troops in Afghanistan indefinitely, end quote. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has invited President Biden to address a joint session of Congress on April 28th. This will be Biden's first speech to both chambers of Congress as president. Pelosi invited Biden so that he could, quote, share his vision for addressing the challenges and opportunities of this historic moment, end quote, which was said in a brief letter to the president on Tuesday. Biden will be addressing the Congress later than the former presidents Donald Trump and Barack Obama, as they both spoke to Congress in February of their first year in office. Katie, Ethan, that's all I've got. Back to you two at the desk.
Thanks, Connor. Time for one last break.
And when we come back, we'll have your sports update, plus a story of how an engineering student turned an in-class design assignment into reality. Keep it here.
Meet the scan, a simple procedure whose mission is to detect lung cancer early.
I'm here to save you.
But I feel fine.
That's great, but you may still be at high risk for lung cancer.
Oh man, that's a new fence.
If you smoke, early detection could save your life. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made home ownership happen. Homeschooling yourself on loans, beefing up your credit score.
So I'm pre-approved.
You were like, yes! Sorry. Color coding listings, ticking boxes, and flushing every toilet in a 20-mile radius. Home sweet home. You aced house hunting. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Meet the scan, a simple procedure whose mission is to detect lung cancer early.
I'm here to save you.
But I feel fine.
That's great, but you may still be at high risk for lung cancer.
Oh man, that's a new fence.
If you smoke, early detection could save your life. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Thanks for staying with us. We are nearing the end of another season, which means tournament play is right around the corner. For more on the latest in Quinnipiac athletics, we are joined in studio by Ben Kane. Ben, how are Quinnipiac sports shaping up?
Thanks, Ethan. There's a lot happening this week, so let's get right into it. Seth Pinckney, the 7-foot center from Philadelphia, decided earlier this week that he will be taking his talents to Florida International University. The news comes a few weeks after the announcement that Kevin Marfo will be returning to Quinnipiac after a year with Texas A&M. Marfo dominated in his time with the Bobcats, earning all-MAC second-team honors, as well as leading the nation in rebounds, averaging 13.3 per game, with an overall record of 9-17 in their last season. With a lot of centers on the graduating as well, Pinckney may see some time on the courts next year. The Quinnipiac women's soccer team were back in action on Monday as well, to take on the number 3 seed Monmouth in their semifinals of the MAC championship. While there was no action to report in the first half, the second half was jam-packed with action. Just 2 minutes into the half, Monmouth forward Lauren Carabin sniped it into the top left corner, with the assist coming from Chloe Ferreira to give the Hawks a 1-0 lead. The Bobcats pushed for another, but it was the Hawks who were able to convert with just 3 minutes remaining in the half. Monmouth striker Alexa Correa gets the ball inside the box and is able to tuck it home, giving Monmouth a 2-0 lead and sending them to the MAC championship to face off against Siena College. The men's team was also in action today to take on Fairfield in the semifinals of the MAC championship. We picked things up early in the first half as Jordan Bennett crosses the ball into the chest of David Bercedo, who finds
Suarez
Thomas
breaking
Fekula
into
to
the
tuck it
midfield
home.
between the lines, feeds
Moving on to the
Brogosson,
second half,
and here's
Paolo
Quinnipiac's
Suarez
man
picks
of the
up ball
moment.
in the midfield and hits it with the outside of his foot into Brogosson, who puts the ball in the back of the net to give the Bobcats a 2-0 lead. The Stags scored 1 goal shortly after, but it wasn't enough. Quinnipiac will be advancing to the MAC championship game. That's all I have for this week. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Ben. It's the story of how one student made a difference in our local community. A Quinnipiac engineering student designed a rain garden for his class. And this weekend, that design came to life. Hannah Merski has more.
A new and sustainable way to protect the Mill River near Quinnipiac was implemented this past weekend at Big Event. Michael Ciccarella, along with other classmates, worked on the rain garden project as a part of an engineering course taught by Professor Kimberly DiGiovanni.
So the students started the design for the rain garden last spring in the ecological engineering course that I taught. And we worked with Professor Sean Duffy from the Albert Schweitzer Institute to conceptualize the design of the rain garden.
The 9 plants you see right here were planted because they do their best in the dry and wet conditions. Their job is going to be collecting the rainfall and holding it so no unwanted pollutants end up in the Mill River behind the Albert Schweitzer Institute.
Pollutants like grease and bacteria can come from parking lots and rooftops, so these plants will make sure to infiltrate and store them underground. DiGiovanni says Ciccarella continued to work with Sean to have the garden built by Big Event.
Very excited about it. They said that it felt really good to see something that they designed actually being small.
This project might begin small, but is able to develop into a bigger project at any time.
This is a demonstration of a rain garden that can be adopted other places on campus and throughout the community. And it's one of the hopes that Sean has for Albert Schweitzer Institute is that it serves as an example of different types of sustainability technology.
Reporting from the rain garden at the Albert Schweitzer Institute, I'm Hannah for Q30 News.
That's all the time we have for tonight, but thank you all for watching, and be sure to stay up to date on all your Quinnipiac news at our Twitter at Q30 News.
Plus, a special thanks to our crew and team behind the scenes for making tonight's show happen. Catch us next week at the same time in the same place.
For Ethan Logue, I'm Katie O'Keefe. Have a good night, Bobcats.